right. Hello, everyone. We are back for our Oscar preview. I know it's been a year and you've been waiting this whole time. I am Joe Barress. I'm here with Tamara Dunn.
Hello.
And Rebecca Kivak.
Hi.
So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in it here. We're entering the Oscars, and there is no host. There is actually did yet, because everything is just
Still no host.
still no host.
Haven't gotten any alerts.
We've removed categories from the telecast, and we have re-added those categories. There's just so much going on with this production. Tamara, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen on Sunday?
I am hoping that we did not get what happened in 1989, which was the last time there was no host for the Oscars. We had the infamous Rob Lowe and Snow White duet that was not very well received. You can check out those clips on YouTube. So I'm hoping that that doesn't happen. What I do look forward to is seeing a live performance of Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper for Shallow, and I think Bette Midler is going to sing for the song from Mary Poppins Returns. So those are parts that I'm looking forward to, and I am hoping that we get a 3-hour telecast, even though even this morning a producer said that was not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to how they're going to try to pull it off.
Right.
It's not only do we have such a show that we do not know what's going to happen, we really don't have any front runners or anything that makes this a very predictable show.
Right, exactly. And Rebecca, what do you got? You know anything to add?
I am really surprised by the whole no host situation.
Yeah.
What I was wondering is if, because there's no host, maybe they would actually get rid of some of those filler bits that they like to do in between the awards. Like, I know last year Jimmy Kimmel had like the tourist group come in.
Right.
And the thing is, like, some of those bits are entertaining, but some of them aren't, and like they're not essential to the structure of the show.
Right.
So if the Academy's looking for a way to trim down the Oscars broadcast, I think you can definitely lose those bits, but still keep the integrity of the show.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, I really like the Oscars, so it's just like when they're talking about like these time constraints and removing categories, and obviously they've re-added those categories, thank God.
Yes.
It's just like, for people like us, I mean, we've seen everything, we enjoy the show, it just adds so much more when you know everything in every category, essentially. But I understand that they're trying to, the numbers are down. I think they were the lowest ever last year. I understand what they're trying to do, but I think the steps that they've taken, I don't see anything helping these, removing, adding, and just show length. I don't know if any of that's really gonna help. So I agree. I think I'm interested to see what's going to happen on Sunday. Anything else about the Oscar woes before we move on to the actual categories?
I think this year, probably going in, that the Oscars can probably learn from the other award ceremonies to happen this year. And in fact, it has no host a great deal of other shows, like the Golden Globes this past that happened last night, and a lot of the other guilds have gone for have asked women and people that are underrepresented in Hollywood to host, and those have been very successful. Whereas it seems as though Oscars have been trying to find like the biggest star to host, and they're too stressed out or too busy or too controversial to host a show themselves. So hopefully after what happens Sunday, we don't know, but we can learn from all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Rebecca, do you have anything?
Yeah, I actually have seen an abbreviated version of the Oscars. Last year when I was in Ireland, because of the time difference, they showed the Oscars broadcast it aired in the US. They cut it down to an hour and a half. Which was kind of crazy. Yeah, you basically had like a bare bones version of the Oscars.
Yeah.
So I've seen that. They were able to get in all of the awards. They had to trim down some of the technical categories, but basically the main thing they cut out were the song performances, which I don't think they should do that here. They absolutely should have all of them in. That's a huge part of the show. It's a big category. But they did, speaking of the filler bits, they did cut all those out, and I don't think it took away from what the show was.
Wow,
So
and it was an hour and a half.
hour and a half, yeah. I'm
Wow.
still kind of in shock.
I can't even imagine.
Mm.
We'll only be like 4 awards in by
Right,
by an hour and a half.
Right.
So let's talk about let's start with the big one, Best Picture category. I know we all have some thoughts on this, but the nominees are Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, A Star is Born, and Vice. Just to start it off, Tamara, what do you think of the nominations in general? Do you think they got it right?
I do think of, as far as like the movie going public, as well as getting the ones that are critically acclaimed, I would say about 5 of them are right.
Yeah.
Because you have your blockbusters, Black Panther, Bohemian Rhapsody, and A Star is Born. Those alone had more box office draw than almost everything else combined. And you have such a variety of different movies as far as platforms, as far as genres. As you have Roma, that is, I mean, Netflix was starting in June, was still in the doghouse, according to like all the movie industry and stuff of what they were doing. I mean, they couldn't show a film at Cannes, and now they're up for a Best Picture for Roma with what they were able to play ball with the rest of the with the group, I would say. I mean, there are some that I'm disappointed that are not there, like If Bill Street Could Talk,
Yeah.
Eighth
Yes.
Grade, some smaller movies that not only should have been in this category, but some other categories as well. But overall, I think they did make a good balance between what people like. I mean, more people have probably seen these movies than definitely last year, because I think last year, like, there was only like one movie that made over $100 million.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
and from Hazleton point of view, still, even with these 8, only about half of them were in the theaters there.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, yeah, you know, above I-80, you were able to see all the movies, but below, not really. So.
Right. And I think honestly, there's a pretty, like you said, there's also diversity within the characters, within the stories. You know, you have the black characters. You have Black Panther, which is essentially an entire black cast except for a few. You know, you have gay characters, you have female characters. I think there's a nice balance within this best picture category. But Rebecca, what do you think of the nominees?
I think you have a good balanced mix of the kind of genres that are represented too,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
We have a historic first here. Black Panther is the first comic book film
Right.
nominated for Best Picture. Yes. So I'm a huge fan of comic book movies. I am so glad, and I think this movie is very deserving of the
Yeah.
accolades that it
Yeah.
is receiving.
It's also Black Panther Day. That this is the day that it debuted and, you know, killed the box office. So
Nice.
for a movie to have that much of a draw for a year,
Yeah,
is,
seriously.
it's
Yeah.
remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even last year, like before we got into when we did our video last year, we gave you guys just a little snippet of movies we had seen. We all had seen Black Panther, and we all really
Yeah.
liked it. So the fact we're still talking about it a year later, like Tamara said, just wow, the staying power of this film.
It's amazing. I almost forgot that it came out this year. Like, and then the nominations started rolling around. I'm just like, oh my God, Black Panther. It's just, you rarely see it. I mean, this is last year's Get Out. I mean, Get Out came out around the same time as Black Panther did. So I think that is one of the strong films. Black Klansman for me. The Favorite is very strong. Roma is strong. And A Star is Born. And I don't know if those are your 5, but I think those are my 5 that are the best in this category. I'm not the biggest fan of Bohemian Rhapsody, Green Book, or Vice. I think they all have major issues. And I think there are better films out there. I think that, you know, why can't Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse be a Best Picture nominee for me? Why can't Mission Impossible Fallout be a Best Picture nominee? There are just other better options, and I just don't think this Best Picture, these nominees totally encapsulate how good this year was. So Tamara, what do you think about as I know that you mentioned some of the things that are missing. Like you said, if Beale Street could talk, talk about some of the movies that you think maybe don't belong in here.
I know that Rebecca and I disagree on this. I don't believe that Green Book should be in it. It is Oscar bait.
Yeah.
It's very tone deaf as to the times that we live in now. And what's sad right now is we don't have, as I say, we don't have a front runner, but normally, like the past few years, whatever movie won Producers Guild of America award went on to win Best Picture, and Green Book was was that movie, and it also won Golden Globe for comedy. But those two bodies, the Academy and the Hollywood Foreign Press, don't have any overlap. So it's not much of a done deal there. Bohemian Rhapsody, it was such a trouble production to begin with that I didn't even think it would be a factor.
Right.
But I think it was a movie that was really just drawn to the fans and really connected with them. So I mean, I would not probably have picked it in the field, but I can understand why it's there. I mean, it does have its appeal and it does draw you in.
Right, and it does have a great leading performance, which we will get to. Rebecca, what do you think? What doesn't belong, or anything else you want to say?
I'm gonna pick on Vice here,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
When I first saw Vice, I was very confused about it because I felt like I could have written one review talking about how excellent it is, and I also felt like I could have written another review talking about how majorly flawed it is. And
it's true.
The more I've had a chance to think about it since seeing it, I'm leaning more toward the flaws, honestly.
Yeah.
This is this is Adam McKay. He followed up The Big Short with this, which was a financial satire. That was much better done. That was much more consistent in tone. And I don't think that Vice it doesn't strike a good balance of comedy and drama the way it thinks it does. I do think the editing is pretty fantastic in this movie.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I could see it doing something with the editing category. Yeah. But if you're going to compare this film to the other films, I don't think this film is consistently good.
Right.
So
right. I totally agree with that. And I know I've talked about this with you, is like you said, you brought up The Big Short. I think that's been an interesting, I don't want to call it a theme, but The Big Short was an incredible film, and Vice just wasn't there. So like to have Vice in this category, it's weird to me because it's just like, okay, well, he's made a better film, which is essentially the same kind of film. So why are we awarding him for this with a nominee? Also, I don't want to pick on If Beale Street Could Talk, because I think it's an excellent film, and I actually think it does belong in this category. But at the same time, Moonlight is a better film. So that's where it was tough for me this movie season. There were a few things. And speaking of Damien Chazelle, First Man, that maybe you could consider that a snub. I don't know, but I think that he has better films than First Man. So it's difficult for me to see things as the best of the year when I know these filmmakers, these great filmmakers, have made better work in the past. It's strange to me. So that's basically my last thoughts. Tamara, do you have anything else to add before we move on?
I think that we really haven't talked about Roma so much.
Yeah, that's true.
That is, I don't know.
I guess we should touch on it.
I don't know just how to gauge it as far as what the Academy could be thinking. You could have old school where it's saying, well, this wasn't in the theaters, this is a Netflix movie, this is something that you just watch on your phone. It's not worth it. But I'm also looking at Alfonso Cuarón, who has made, this is his personal film, and of the Three Amigos with Del Toro and Itrigo, they've won off of more of like I would call mainstream movies than of their hometown movies. And I would love to see a foreign language film win Best Picture for once, one that's black and white, that he did so much technical work for, because he's nominated for just everything that he's done for this movie. And for just bringing in a new style of movie making and storytelling, that it's going to the masses and not being lost on like, well, you have to travel 40 miles to go see this.
Yeah.
I'm the crazy one that drives that, but
You
still,
are. I saw that. You're
still.
picking up movies on red boxes and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess real quickly, my problem with Roma is that it takes a while for me to get engaged in the film. But once it does kick into gear, it's great. I think the last hour of that film is great, and I think that it's beautiful throughout. I don't have any flaws with it except for, I hate to say, the story and how long it takes me to get engaged. So I think it's a matter of, in engagement, essentially, in my opinion. Rebecca, what do you think?
I feel the exact same way about Roma. I had a really hard time getting into the first half of this film. I actually had to stop it in the middle and take a break because
Me too.
I was worried I wasn't going to appreciate this film the way the other film critics are appreciating it. And I'm honestly really glad I took that step because the second half is where the story really comes together and streamlines.
Right.
That's when I began caring about the characters. I was sucked into the emotional scenes. I think Cuarón's greatness comes through. I mean, his craftsmanship is evident throughout the film, but it really comes through in that second half of the film. My concern here is that Roma is taking the glory off of Black Klansman, which I think is a really excellent film.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see it in 2018. I saw it kind of like midway through January. Had I seen it earlier, I would have included it as one of the best of the 2018 films. I think that film achieves the balance between drama and comedy that Vice was going for. I think this is a really powerful film, and I'm just worried it's not going to be mentioned in the station.
That's a great point. Did you have something?
No, I was actually going to save it for best director.
Okay, yeah, we could do that. So let's move on to best director. Speaking of Cuarón, Spike Lee, Yorgos Lanthimos for The Favorite, Adam McKay, Vice, and Paul Pawlikowski for Cold War. Sorry, Paul, if I messed up your name. This is a pretty interesting field, honestly. Let's start with you, Rebecca. What do you think of the best director?
This is a really interesting field. Like, I think there's a lot of risk-taking directors in this field. You have Spike Lee, who has always been taking chances and been daring. You got Adam McKay trying to follow up, like we said, The Big Short. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see Cold War because it never came to our area, and it's not available on streaming.
Yeah, it won't be available for another month.
Right.
So that's a bummer because it's also nominated in the cinematography category. It's also nominated for best foreign film, and I'm not going to be able to see it before the award show. But I know apparently Paweł Pawlikowski, he's a Polish filmmaker. Apparently he and Alfonso Cuarón were very, like, they influenced each other. Cuarón encouraged Pawlikowski when making this film because it's based on the 1950s era romance of his parents, actually, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So with that said, I really like what Spike Lee accomplished with Black Klansman here. This is his first ever nomination for director, which blows
Which is
my
crazy,
mind.
right? It's crazy. It's insane.
And he's very deserving of this nomination. I also think it's interesting it comes 30 years after he was snubbed for a directing nomination for Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
Same year that Driving Miss Daisy
Right.
was nominated, and here we go again with Green Book.
With Green Book. History repeats itself. That's it. So, Tamara, what do you think?
I think it goes down to Cuarón and Spike Lee. And reason why I wanted to talk about both of them is that they're also competing in the screenplay categories. Cuarón's on cinematography, also producing, which also Spike Lee is competing in as well. And looking at the guilds, Cuarón won for Directors Guild of America. That's usually indicated of who's going to win the Oscar in that. But with the Academy being as more diverse and as wider as it is, and just of membership, not talking about race or age, but just of membership of different people who are in, there are more people like Spike Lee to win the directing Oscar. It's like just starting from Cannes when he won when Black Klansman won second place there, losing to Shoplifters, that's nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. There are also some experts that are predicting that if he doesn't win for director, he'll win for adapted screenplay.
Right.
And last night, that was also sort of put into a flux because Can You Ever Forgive Me won for Best Adapted Screenplay from Writers Guild. And last year, the two winners of that category for original and for adapted went on to win the Oscar, but not this year because original that won for eighth grade was not nominated this year for an Oscar. So, I mean, who knows what will happen if we'll get another split between the Best Picture and the Best Director winner.
Right.
If it will be Roma that wins and will win for producing, or Spike Lee will win for Best Director, or if he'll win for Adapted Screenplay. And he's also against Barry Jenkins for If Bill Street Can Talk, and a lot of people were saying that he was they were snubbed for a lot more categories, including Best Picture.
Right.
So as you're looking at your all the guilds and all the other awards, there's no way of telling where Spike could land. And also, he won a BAFTA.
He did win a BAFTA. I know. How crazy was that? I was going to mention that.
He beat the Brits,
right.
And so I can't. I know it's down to these two, and I can't say who will win here.
Right. Anything is possible, I say, and you're both right, and I think that Quaran's direction. I love Spike. I'd love to see him win. I just don't know if anyone beats Quaran's direction in this. Like you said, I know that we haven't discussed it, but we are huge backers of Black Klansman. We love Black Klansman in every way, acting, just everything about it. And I think it's a major accomplishment for Spike Lee. So I'm happy that he's at least here. I'd love to see him win. I just don't know what he has it takes to beat Quaran in Roma, because it's just a phenomenally directed film. But let's move on to Best Actor. We've got Christian Bale for Vice, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Willem Dafoe At Eternity's Gate, Rami Malek, Bohemian Rhapsody, and Viggo Mortensen for Green Book. Tamara, why don't you kick this one off? What do you think of the category?
Oh gosh. Overall, there are only of all the acting and lead acting and supporting acting, of those 20 roles, I think there's only 2 of them that are original, not based off of a book, not based off of real life. Like with this category, I mean, 2 years ago, Christian Bale won it for Vice because everybody saw him gain the weight and take on the shape of Dick Cheney, and that was like the big thing. If you're an actor and you gain weight, you get the Oscar. So everybody was like, "Yep, that's yours." Yeah. And then all of a sudden, there was another guy that had gained 60 pounds or so, and Viggo Mortensen for Green Book, and it's like, oh great, we have 2 guys who gained weight.
I better start gaining some weight quick.
And then out of nowhere, Rami Malek started collecting all the hardware, and his performance in Bohemian Rhapsody is charismatic. I mean, even though he's lip syncing and things like that, you couldn't really take your eyes off of him, and just wanting to see him take on Freddie Mercury. So I really see that he gets it here, and this is one of those times where we go against sort of the pattern especially for Best Actor. It's mostly an aged actor that is been around, who has gained weight and is playing a real person, whereas Rami is playing a real person, but he is younger. He does not have much of a movie resume.
That's true.
Despite working with Spike Lee twice already. Everything Lisa Spike Lee. But I mean, but we've also seen that pattern coming up now with like Eddie Redmayne winning for The Theory of Everything and things like that. That they are beating Michael Keaton from Birdman. But we're seeing that pattern that younger actors are winning, and so I'm hoping that it gets it. I mean, if Christian Bale gets it because of the weight gain or because of like the political environment, that happens. I mean, I don't see that being a bad thing, but I'm really cheering for Rami. on this.
I hear you. Well, like you were saying last year, Gary Oldman playing Winston Churchill. Like I was hearing the check marks go off in my head every time you were saying for Gary Oldman. So you're absolutely right. I think that I agree with you in the sense that, honestly, if Bale gets it or Malik gets it, I'm fine with either of those. I thought they were both great. I thought they were phenomenal. Where, I'm trying to decide, I'm trying to pick between them, and it's just like, I'm like nitpicking things. So that's always a good thing. Like if you're just trying to find things like, oh, well, he was lip syncing. So, or like, oh, he just got fat. It's just like, oh, okay. All right. Now you're just, so I would be happy if either of those people won. I think they're the front runners. Honestly, I don't know if like a Bradley Cooper belongs in here. I know the Academy loves Bradley Cooper.
Only in acting.
That's right. Honestly, I thought he did a phenomenal job with A Star Is Born. I thought that his direction was actually better than his acting in A Star Is Born. I don't know if I would have put him in the best director category either, but I thought his direction was better. I don't know if he really belongs. Rebecca, what do you think?
Yeah, I will like both of you. I do think it's going to come down to Bale and Malik in this category. I actually think that as good as Christian Bale is in Vice, like he completely transformed himself to become Dick Cheney, he's doing what Gary Oldman did last year. He put on prosthetics and makeup, and he's playing a historical figure. With Gary Oldman playing Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour last year. I don't know if the Academy is going to want to award another actor for doing the same thing 2 years in a row. True. So that does give me pause. With that said, I'm rooting for Rami Malek as well in this because he lights up the screen so much in Bohemian Rhapsody. He's so full of life playing this larger than life character, and it works. I like Bohemian Rhapsody a lot. I think I might have actually liked it more than other people, but a big part of that is his performance. He lifts the whole film. So if Christian Bale wins, again, fantastic performance, and that would be fine. But I think Raimi he takes it to another level in his performance.
Right. It's like you said, honestly, this was like it on most audiences' account. This was an average film, and critics' account. It was an average film, and he lifted it up to this point. Without this performance, this film is nothing. I mean, it's nothing. So I think you have to take that into account, honestly, when you're coming to the best actor performance. And I think that will lead kind of nicely into our best actress category, where we have Yalitza Aparicio for Roma. You got Glenn Close for The Wife. Olivia Colman. There's no E in Coleman. I just figured that out like a week ago. Sorry to say. For The Favorite. Lady Gaga and Star Is Born, and Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me? Rebecca, why don't you start us off on this?
Okay. I just watched The Wife this week. I stayed up until 4 a.m. to watch it, which
Same.
See?
Same.
And no, the thing is, I was supposed to stop halfway through, go to bed like a normal person and pick it up in the morning, but I got so sucked into this film. Time flew by, I couldn't stop watching. Glenn Close is fantastic in this film. She plays the role very close to the vest. Right. So there are secrets that emerge in this film, and you honestly don't know that they're coming because of how she plays it. Yeah. It's a beautiful performance. Then she just peels back layers throughout. And I'm honestly very glad this film was nominated because I don't know if I would have seen it if it wasn't. And her performance is definitely deserving of the accolades that she's received so far. I don't think anyone expected her to really be picking up the hardware. I know there was a lot of emphasis on Lady Gaga and her breakthrough performance in A Star Is Born, but after seeing Glenn Close here, it's an amazing role. I'd say it's probably one of her best roles.
Right, and I think, speaking of Glenn Close and The Wife, again, I don't think this is a great film, but I think it's probably average without her, but she elevates it to good. I think that there are a lot of, I think that you would also get a lot out of it if you watched it again, and of her performance, because there were a lot of things that were happening in the first 45 minutes. So I was just like, why is she reacting like this? Why is she it didn't make sense to me. But as the film goes on, you start to understand why she was making, her nonverbal communication, her facial expressions. And I think that if you watch it again, you'd be like, oh my God, I think you would even get more out of it. So I thought that she was spectacular. I think that I was really happy to see that Yalitza Aparicio was nominated for this because she was excellent, and she hasn't been getting any love from anybody. And I was so shocked that she hasn't, because when I watched Roma, she is phenomenal, honestly. And I think that there are some strong performances, and I thought Olivia Colman was great too. But honestly, I think that Yalitza and Glenn Close are really the powerhouses of this category for me, honestly. But what do you think?
I'm probably on the other side of Close. I think she was phenomenal in this movie, but this movie was awful.
Yeah, there you go. See?
It's like you guys were saying, you picked up the stuff throughout. I picked it up in the first 5 minutes and was bored for the rest of the movie. It's like, okay, I bet you this was based off of a book. I bet you this is going to happen. This, this, and this, and it did. And so I was not very entertained. And I've seen Glenn Close in much better roles. Dangerous Liaisons, even like in Albert Nobbs was better. The difference here is she took the Albert Nobbs approach as far as boostering the movie. It's like, this came out in the summer, it was out for like 2 weeks here in music, and then it was gone, and then came back out again for a week. And if you look at like the credits and things like that, you would notice that like her real life daughter's in the movie. She really there were like so many different production companies behind it. So I mean, she really put herself out there for this movie, and I think that the hardware that she has collected has been a good indicator that it's a good performance. Golden Globe for drama and Screen Actors Guild. But Olivia Colman does phenomenal physical work in The Favorite, and that and rarely does actually a woman who gains weight for a role win an Oscar. It's usually a young woman who is either playing like some sort of troubled person, or somebody that's very likable or has gone through adversity will get the Oscar, or is a prostitute. And I think that Coleman's role here is completely different from what you would expect from Best Actress performance to be. And I mean, if this was Best Actor, we wouldn't have this type of conversation.
That's true. That's a good point.
But I mean, Lady Gaga is phenomenal in A Star Is Born.
Yes.
I mean, we knew she had some, acting chops from like doing American Horror Story and things like that. But to be able to carry a film, really, I didn't expect what type of performance she gave us for this. And so she was collecting a lot of the hardware early on, like National Review, and she tied with Close with the Critics' Choice for that. So, but I think that audiences and the Academy can't separate the musician from the actress, and it's like it's sort of like with Prince playing Purple Rain. It's all semi-autobiographical, but you don't really think of it as him being an actor. And it's the same with Gaga. It's like, oh, really discover a really talented singer at a nightclub, and then she's like back in like pop stardom instantly. And there are other movies that were better to me as far as illustrating that transition that came out this last year. But I pulling for Coleman for this. Yeah. She's had a long career, mostly in television, and this role and the way it's done, and I think the weirdness is also probably plays a factor of why she's not getting as much of a push
You're
from The Favorite.
You're
I mean, if Close wins, that is fine with me, because she should have gotten an Oscar. 7 nominations.
That's true. That's
7.
That's crazy.
Without a win.
Yeah.
She's she has that record for like she's the longest living person without a win or something that.
Wow. Cool.
But so I think more people are going to be pulling for her to do it.
See, that's another thing, and we see this all the time. It's like the apology Oscar, and it's just like, oh, I'm sorry, you should have gotten this years ago. Here's yours now.
Right.
Just two quick things. Lady Gaga, I think that what's amazing about her was her chemistry with Bradley Cooper. I thought that them as a duo really worked, and she's phenomenal. So I don't want to skip over her as if she doesn't belong or anything. She definitely belongs. She was great. I guess I don't have a problem with anything. Olivia Colman was great. I agree with you. I don't want to come off the impression that she wasn't great in the film. I don't know if she didn't feel like a leading actress to me.
No,
that
was the three leads movie.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
It was, yeah.
It just feels like it just, that's what kind of rubs me the wrong way about it.
Mm-hmm.
She is phenomenal. I agree with everything you said. I don't know if this is like, oh, she was the clear lead of the film. It's just like, I don't think so. But do you have anything else to add before?
Just to piggyback a little bit on Coleman, yeah, I've been a fan of hers for a long time.
Yeah.
She was in a British show called Broadchurch, which is amazing if you haven't seen it. But she takes a character who comes off as very childlike and unlikable in the beginning of the film.
Right.
She could be just a cartoonish character throughout the
Right.
film. She makes her into a sympathetic, complex individual by the time the film ends.
Yeah.
And I have to give her so much credit for that. And she kind of sneaks up on you. This does end up being her movie, but it's not something you realize until the end, actually, because of
Right.
those three lead performances.
That's true. And she's a delight, by the way. If she wins, great, because she's going to give one heck of a speech
Yes.
at the Oscars.
Yes, she will.
So, all right, let's move on to supporting actor, where we have Mahershala Ali for Green Book, Adam Driver for Black Klansman, Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born, Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me, and Sam Rockwell for Vice. Tamara, why don't you start us off on this one?
Speaking of a movie that has more than one lead, Green Book had more than one lead.
Yes.
And Mahershala Ali really should have been boosted for a Best Actor instead of Supporting Actor.
Right.
And I'm glad this was not exactly a case of category fraud where somebody's like, I really want the Oscar, I'm going to go for a supporting
Right.
actor or supporting actress. This
Right.
is actually something I think he was more stationed into than anything else, especially after. Never. I'm not going to. I have great dislike for Green Book in many
Yes.
many angles, but this is his to lose. And
Right.
what's so amazing is that he just won for Moonlight. He has
Yeah.
won. He won the Golden Globe, SAG, and he won a BAFTA, which for people of color, getting a BAFTA is hard.
Right.
And
right.
being an American and getting a BAFTA
Yeah.
is even harder.
Right. Right.
So, after seeing him win that, it's like, it's his. If it isn't, I don't even know who could possibly get it. Maybe Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me? Because he is also a character actor that many people in the industry respect. And so it could be that he could get it for, he's finally getting a role in which he's being recognized for, and not just being a background character. But I'm really thinking that it's Ali's.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Rebecca?
Yeah, I know. I think this is his to lose too. I just thought like he portrays the conflict that Don Shirley faces in this movie beautifully. There's this scene. I'm just gonna quote the line from it because that's something that really stuck with me. Where the movie depicts him as having a difficult time of connecting with the Black community,
Right.
but even though he's hired to play for several white events, he doesn't fit in there either. So there's this scene in the rain where he just says, I'm not Black enough and I'm not white enough. What am I? And that just resonated with me. I think I actually teared up a bit during that part of the movie.
Yeah.
So he does a beautiful job in the movie. There are some issues though with the real life history behind this movie.
Yeah.
So when you take that into consideration, this is a hard category because even though I think he gives a wonderful performance in it, there's like an asterisk by it, I guess you could say, just because the story is being told from Viggo Mortensen's character's son's perspective, actually.
Yeah.
There wasn't any input from the Shirley family in this.
They didn't seek it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right, and they didn't even
exactly.
seek it.
And I hope it's not reflected on Ali that he'll be snubbed because of what the filmmakers and everybody else did. I mean, he's gone on record. It's like he didn't really know that information, and he
Absolutely.
has apologized to the Shirley family and has been in contact with them. So I'm hoping that doesn't really reflect on them. But I think of all the acting categories, this is the one that had the bigger snubs of being people left out. Michael B. Jordan for Black Panther.
Absolutely.
We had Timothy Clementi for A Beautiful Boy, and
Chalamet.
Oh no, it's
I can't pronounce it.
very tricky last name.
Yeah, but his performance in Beautiful Boy, I mean, was heartbreaking and felt real, and you could see it wasn't a clear timeline, and that's something that you usually see with the people that are drug addicts. There's always this sort of thing of, oh, there's this arc of redemption or something, and with him there wasn't so much. It was every day ups and downs, and he did it so beautifully. Didn't mean to say it that way, but I just think that he was I think he was very much robbed here, because he was nominated everywhere else except for Oscar.
Right.
And so I really think he should have been in this category.
Yeah, I was shocked because I expected to okay, he'll be nominated and then I'll watch Beautiful Boy, and then you're like, what? I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll wait.
And then we'll mispronounce his name again because it's so hard to say in the first place. Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention before, and I don't know, I thought that Adam Driver was phenomenal in Black Klansman.
Yes.
Honestly, I think that he evolves as a character. He's able to handle a lot of his acting parts very subtly, and then it just the way he evolves throughout the movie to the end. I loved his performance. It was very good. And as the sad thing would be, if he won, he'd be the one white character that won. I would hope that he wouldn't be the white guy to win in a movie called Black Klansman. I don't know. That would bother me for John David Washington not getting nominated and
that's
stuff like that.
Right there,
it's just, I don't know. I don't know.
History repeating itself. When Do the Right Thing was out, Danny Aiello was nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, but I also thought that this was one of the best films I've seen to relay the American Jewish experience.
Absolutely.
And I was
That's true.
and I was not very much an Adam Driver fan before seeing this and seeing Silence, the Martin Scorsese movie a few years ago.
Yeah.
But I thought he did a really good job with this, especially with the material and trying to. I mean, you're basically impersonating somebody else and bringing in somebody that you don't know, and that bond and everything just really showed.
Exactly. Do you have anything else before we...
Yeah, I think the wrong actor from Vice got nominated for this category.
True. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Rockwell, he's totally fine in
Yeah.
Vice. He plays George W. Bush, but I mean, for me, when you think of the category of supporting actor, you think of someone who has an impact on the film.
Yeah.
Even if they're not in the film very much, their character would still have an impact. He really doesn't.
Right.
George W. Bush.
Right.
The supporting character who had more of an impact on me would be Steve Carell
Agreed.
as Donald Rumsfeld.
Agreed.
He
Definitely.
played an important role in shaping, Cheney's basically the political monster that the movie
Right.
portrays him becoming, honestly. And I felt some sympathy for his character too, actually.
I totally agree with that. Actually, were you gonna
I
say
say Rockwell was probably the coattails nominee. You usually get that from the in the supporting roles. It's sort of like if you're doing your Final Four bracket, your March Madness bracket, you're trying to pick who's the 5 and 12 game.
Right,
the 12 is going to be. So when I saw Sam Rockwell, I was like, he's the 12.
Oh, right.
Watch, he's going to be the 12 that's going to be nominated.
Yep.
And I definitely agree. Steve Carell was better in this role, but I just wonder if during the campaign season was he pushing more for Beautiful Boy, and also he had other movie,
Welcome to Marwen.
which was canned, and he was probably
Yeah.
going for those two roles more than
Definitely. You're right.
Jamie.
You put his eggs in the wrong basket.
Then the Rumsfeld one for Vice. So
And wait for later in March when we have our March Madness podcast. I love it. I love it. I love the reference. That was fantastic. All right, moving on to Best Supporting Actress. We have Amy Adams in Vice. We have Marina de Tavira in Roma. We have Regina King in If Beale Street Could Talk. Emma Stone, The Favorite. Rachel Weisz, The Favorite. Rebecca, kick us off. What do you think of the category?
Well, there's a lot of good performances in this category.
Yeah.
We've been talking about how The Favorite has been like a three-hander basically between the top three actresses. With the problem here, though, I think is that with Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz, they were both so good in this movie. I think they're going to cancel each other out.
Yeah.
Rachel Weisz did win the BAFTA actually, but it's kind of been going along with what we said about she's British.
She's British.
So that's why that doesn't take away from her performance, though.
No.
But to me, you have to hone in on Regina King for her role in If Beale Street Could Talk. This category has been a little weird because the list of nominees hasn't been consistent across the various types of awards. So she won the Golden Globe for this, but she wasn't nominated for SAG actually.
and not for BAFTA.
See, but I really enjoyed her performance in If Beale Street Could Talk. She plays like this tireless advocate for her daughter and her daughter's wrongly imprisoned boyfriend, and she's willing to go through any lengths to try to like defend him. She gets a whole sequence to herself in this movie, and she just commands the screen. It's an unforgettable sequence. I know we were saying how it's a fantastic movie, not quite as tightly executed as Moonlight, but I do think her performance adds so much to this film.
Yeah, no, I agree. Tamara, what do you think?
I do agree. Looking at this category, this has been the most inconsistent of them all. And we brought up some good points, though. Rachel Weisz won for BAFTA. Emily Blunt won for the SAG Awards for A Quiet Place. And many people thought when she won that, it cemented Regina King's luck for Oscar.
Right.
And she is a woman who's very well liked in Hollywood. She's been a director. She has been in the industry forever. I mean, watch 227. I mean, all of us grew up with that. She was on there, and even like when she won and up for Emmys and stuff. Every time she was up, it felt like she was nominated for the first time. Like just everything that she adds onto any performance is new, but she also does not have much of a film resume, and so so you see her in film, and you see her in this, and it's like, wow, like just how she commands the screen. I mean, at one point I was like, could you be my mom and defend me for stuff? And,
Yes, I know, it's so true.
Seriously.
And so I'm pulling for her. If there is somebody that is in the league that I would say could upset her, would be Rachel Weisz, because of the British contingent. It is very strong, but and I think of the between Rachel and Emma, Rachel had the stronger performance.
I agree.
And I mean, she did go through hell, and so I mean, I would say that would probably be the upset, but she also already has an Oscar, so I'm thinking that it's pulling back for Regina King for me for that, and just thinking of like, if you ever read any of those like honest Oscar ballots or you watch what other people are pulling through. I mean, like love basketball, the Kobe Bryant love letter to the NBA when he retired. I mean, people voted for that because they were like, we like the Lakers and we like that they brought us championships.
How dare you? I almost wore my Laker polo shirt to this.
It's bad enough that he's wearing Duke colors. But nevertheless, they voted for him because he brought championships to the Lakers and he wanted to reward him. And then when he wanted to become, then when they say, hey, he could be, since he won the Oscar, let's get him to be in part of the Academy. He's like, in animation, because he won. He's like, I've only made one animated film, and it was a short. So, I mean, and that's like, think about what we discussed earlier with Spike Lee. He could possibly pull for a director because so many people are pulling for him. I think that Regina King, who does phenomenal work in this, could have that fan factor within Hollywood that will boost her up.
Right. Next week, Tamara and I are going to fight about why Dear Basketball is bad and why it's good. Point and counterpoint. Anyway, just to talk about Regina King, the only thing that scares me, I think we all agree that she should probably get it, but the thing that scares me is that, like, I just feel like she hasn't won anything lately. I feel like she started off and she was cruising, and then, like, she doesn't get nominated for one of the for a couple of times, and it's just like, oh God, can they forget about her? Like, that's my fear. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Like, probably not, but I don't know.
We
It's
got
just-
Amy Adams here who's been nominated. Well, this is like her
That's true.
sixth,
Yeah.
maybe her
Speaking
fifth or
of,
sixth
yeah.
Her
nominee.
sixth nomination.
Talk that like of all the 8 Best Picture nominees, there will be one that wins nothing, and it could either be Black Panther or it could be Vice.
Right. Right.
I'm thinking Black Panther would not be that because there are a great deal of technical ones that it's won through the guilds, so that will power it through. But Vice empty-handed.
Yeah,
It could win for makeup and hairstyling, but what if Amy Adams gets that sympathy vote?
Right.
But
Right.
I mean, she has so many good roles and more that we know that she's gonna get. I don't know. That will be enough.
Exactly. And I don't want to just gloss over the fact that Marina de Tavera was, like, really good in Roma too.
Yes.
She is excellent. I mean, I don't think she has a chance here, but, like, she was great. She was absolutely phenomenal in the film. Rebecca, do you have anything else before we kind of move on?
No, just like despite the issues I have with Roma's first half, the performances are phenomenal.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when you realize that this is a story about female empowerment, I think both of your 2 actresses here did a phenomenal job, and I definitely became more connected to them throughout the movie. So I'm really glad to see them get some recognition in these categories where they didn't for other awards.
Right. All right. So let's try to sort of wrap it up here. I just want to mention that I think the animated feature category is really strong this year. I think with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and The Incredibles 2, I really loved all those films and wouldn't have a problem with any of them winning. I think the one that stands out is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And just to piggyback off that, I was actually surprised to see that the song Sunflower in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse wasn't nominated for Best Song. I love it, and I think it really, like, it adds so much to the way it's used in the film too is honestly phenomenal. And I was honestly shocked to see that, like, it wasn't nominated. Maybe that's something, like, really small. And I realized that Post Malone is one of the people who's a part of that song. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. But that was one of the things. What I want to take away from this is that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is an awesome movie. And I wish it got nominated for Best Picture. Anyway, Rebecca, anything you got?
Yeah, like this is a really strong category. You could make a good argument for either Ralph Breaks the Internet or Incredibles 2 coming in and stealing this. Just Ralph Breaks the Internet. It so cleverly addresses the internet. It makes it accessible to kids, and it's such a powerful story about friendship. I liked it so much. Then I saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and that completely won me over. It looks like it's right out of a comic book. Like, it's like just the drawings were so expressionistic.
Right.
And that delivers such a beautiful story about finding your identity and about family. And that's been winning every award in the book. So if that doesn't win, I'll be shocked.
Right, exactly. It was cool too, because, like, as it went along, Incredibles 2 came out and I was like, wow, that was great. And then Ralph Breaks the Internet came out, oh, that was better. And then Spider-Man and the Spider-Man, okay, this is the best. I don't think anything's gonna top it. But I know you didn't like Incredibles, is that correct?
I didn't like the original,
Okay.
but I loved
Okay,
Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
cool,
That was,
cool, nice.
That was a big surprise. Isle of Dogs, I did not like so much. I'm a big Wes Anderson fan, and my favorite is the Fantastic Mr. Fox
Oh,
of
it's
his.
an excellent
And
movie.
this was
Excellent.
not even, to me, was not very close to it, and it was more of like fanboy trying to replicate some of the greatest Japanese movies, and it just didn't work for me. And I did not think it was, it employed a lot of the elements right. It didn't fit well with me. I will just take your word for it on the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I just feel really bad that I will not see this because of my arachnophobia. But
Oh no!
there are spiders in it, so you can't see it.
There
That's
are
the thing.
legitimate
I mean, they're
spiders,
on the uniform. I can't. I gotta go like this.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
So but it's so, in a way, it's refreshing to hear that Disney Pixar are the underdogs here.
Right? Isn't
It's
that
really,
crazy?
Yeah.
very foreign in this, and for this category, for there not to be like, I mean, Incredibles 2, they were already ready to give it the Oscar in June.
Right.
And,
Right.
and then Into the
Exactly.
Spider-Verse comes in, and there's like, oh, we
Ooh.
should have thought of this for best, as you said, best picture,
Yeah.
best this, best
Yeah.
that, in different categories other than just animated. And I mean, hopefully, so if it wins, it will wake up more Academy members and more moviegoers, and so that a cartoon is not just a
Right.
cartoon; it can
Right.
be more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will just leave that to you guys.
Exactly. and look at it. I mean, again, this is another black-led superhero movie. The main character
Yes,
is a black
absolutely.
man, well, black boy. But it's
Black
just
Latino.
right. So it's incredible to see that like these first superhero movies essentially to get are led like that. That's really
Absolutely.
refreshing to see. Before we wrap up, is there anything else about the Oscars that you want to talk about?
Not really.
Yeah,
Actually, I think we did a pretty good,
I think we
a pretty
fell
good
over it. How
job.
about you, Tamara?
We'll just have to wait and see what happens on Sunday.
Right.
Got your popcorn ready?
Yeah.
Also, this coming Sunday, we have our official Oscar picks. I will have my preview for the standard speaker on Sunday. So you can check out what my predictions for the major 6 categories. Hopefully, I'll do better than 5 and 6 as I did last year. But still, you'll have that, and also later this week we'll have the last of the Road to Gold post for Take Two on the blog.
Right, exactly. And you'll be able to see our picks
Yes.
this Sunday in Times-Tribune. Please pick it up. You'll see everything I get wrong and everything Rebecca gets right.
Or vice versa.
Right. I want to at least mention here that you still have time to pick the Oscars.
Mhm. Right here.
Right here. To enter the Times-Tribune, you pick the Oscar contest. Choose who you will think will win in the categories listed. They're actually the categories we discussed, so that's good. The winner will be chosen following the 91st Annual Academy Awards presentation on February 24th. And you will receive 4 tickets for Broadway Theater League's presentation of The King and I in March at Scranton Cultural Center at the Masonic Temple. Enter by Friday for a chance to win the tickets. You can enter online, theTimesTribune.com/Oscar contest. You can also mail your completed form to the Times Tribune Oscar Contest, 149 Penn Ave, Scranton, PA, 18503. You can drop it, or you can drop it off at the customer service desk at the Times Building downtown. Anyway, now that I'm out of breath, Rebecca,
Yeah.
where can they find you and everything for you?
Well, you can find Tamara and I at our Take Two blog, which is on Times Tribune blog/Take Two. And if you want to know what we think about the ceremony next week,
Yes.
be sure to come back to the Scranton Times Tribune and the Hazleton Standard Speaker YouTube channels next Monday, because we are going to have an Oscars wrap up. Actually, we're going to go over the winners and the losers. Plus, if you enter the Oscar contest that Joe just
I was
talked
going to
about,
say,
yeah, well, you might hear us say your name because we're going to be
Right.
announcing the winner
we
next
may
week.
announce the winner. So there's that. If anything else, I think we're good here.
Oh, we also have live tweeting on Sunday.
Oh, that's true.
Yes, we
You
do.
can
That's
follow
true.
me on Twitter at SS Tamara Dunn for my standard speaker account. I will be live tweeting and also sharing some photos of past nominees I've taken over the years that I've seen and met. So it's usually a good time. So follow us on that. And Rebecca,
I'm also on Twitter. I'm on as TT Rebecca Kivak, which is a really long Twitter name, I realize. But yeah, I'm looking forward to live tweeting the ceremony with Tamara. And yeah, like we're as curious as you are to see who's gonna win and how the show's gonna go.
I'm gonna be tweeting from @FeaturesTT because my my Twitter account is not very official, so I figured I'll use a official one. So I'll be tweeting from there. So enjoy the show. I want to give a shout out to Caitlin West, who was filming this whole thing. Our production crew is growing by one. We have somebody finally. So thank you to Caitlin. And other than that, we'll see you guys next Monday.
Yeah,
Take care.
Bye. I'm gonna keep